All right, let's start.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Good evening, everyone. Now that you're all seated, I'm going to ask you to rise and salute the flag, please, for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Mr. Collins.
This evening marks a very special event, as this is the town moderator's last meeting in 29 years. So, on behalf of the town, for his dedicated service, I'd like to introduce the chair of the Board of the Select Board, Carol Sherman, for the purposes of presenting Jerry Carter with a certificate. And I ask all of you, hopefully we're in unison on this, to give Jerry Carter, our town moderator for 29 years, a great round of applause.
Jeremy M. Carter, Town Moderator from 1993 to 2022, in appreciation for your dedication and service to the town of Mashpee, given this second day of May, 2022. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No more town employee discount for your legal services?
I was running low on jokes, so I figured it was time to call it quits. Well, welcome, everyone, and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve for the town of Mashpee, and I look forward to staying involved, and it's all of you that come here that make it all worthwhile. So thank you. So, one reminder that the town election is this Saturday, so please go out and vote. And as usual, when you come to the microphone, just please, for the record, state your name and address, and I will try to reach everyone. So, we're going to try it. We got a long meeting tonight. I think they doubled up just to get me, but we're going to try to get through it. I'm going to take a motion in a minute to do away with reading of the articles. But to start, greetings to the constables of the town. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and summon the inhabitants of the town of Mashpee who are qualified to vote in the elections to meet at the Mashpee High School on Monday, the second day of May, 2022, at 7 p.m. for the following purposes: to act on the articles contained in the following warrant, and this is the special town meeting. Selectman Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to dispense with the reading of the special town meeting warrant articles.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Article 1, Selectman Whedon.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $195,000 from the revenue available for appropriation to the snow and ice account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 1 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 1? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 1 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 2, Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $1,065.92 from revenue available for appropriation to pay the previous year's compensation and unpaid bills as follows. Jennifer Berry, retroactive payment, $240.64. Robin DeRozier, retroactive payment $235.84. Scott Halligan, retroactive payment $252.96. Teresa Lambert, retroactive payment $240.64. And W.B. Mason, unpaid bill $95.84.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second's been made, Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 2 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody want to know what W stands for? W.B. Mason? Okay.
Do tell.
All those in favor, I need a 9/10 vote, so let's try to make it unanimous. All in favor of Article 2, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 3, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 3 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 3 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, does everybody see what the town seal looks like? Okay. 29 years doesn't get me on a seal, I guess, huh? All right, any discussion on Article 3? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 3 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 4. Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 4 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrases, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 4 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 4? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 4 say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 5, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $369,215 from revenue available for appropriation to the Natural Resources Capital Account.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 5 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 5? Yes, sir.
Brian Everett, 77 Forest Drive, Mashpee. So this is pertaining to some construction, some improvements to the condominium, to the garages that Natural Resources Department built or purchased last year, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So now we're up to like $1,500,000 roughly for this new building.
Approximately. We were at $4 million for the original estimate, and based upon this alternative, I'd have to check the math, but that sounds about right.
And how much has how much has been spent to clean up Santua Pond in the last 5 years? Anywhere near $1 million or anything like that?
Last one.
I'm not.
They don't know
Okay.
specifically. Okay. Any other discussion on Article 5? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 5 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. No, I'm sorry, Finance Committee. Did I?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Article 6. Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $1,260,950 from revenue available for appropriation to the Department of Public Works capital account.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 6 by a vote of 6-0.
Any discussion on Article 6? Yes?
Christopher Nilsson, 30 Palmer Road. While I'm in full support of the article, I want to ensure that we consider usage of the fields, especially for the Heritage Park, youth soccer, Mashpee soccer, on occasion runs into a scenario of either damaged fields or flooded fields. If we're going to invest the funds in this evolution, that we consider design that incorporates possibilities of use by Mashpee youth soccer as well, in case Heritage Park is unavailable.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Article 6 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes. And we have, as of this moment, 417 voters in the House. Good job. Article 7, Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote appropriate and transfer the sum of $57,900 from revenue available for appropriation to the Department of Public Works capital account contingent upon an award of a shared streets and spaces grant.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 7 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 7?
Could I just ask why these stated purposes that were in the warrant have been deleted from the motion, you know, what the money was for?
You have your book?
Where's Mom?
The money's for the compact track.
The motion reflects, it's for those purposes and set forth in the article.
So Town Council acknowledges that you don't need the actual sum. It sets forth the purpose of the article. So, any further discussion on Article 7? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 7 as moved, say aye.
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 All those opposed? It passes. Article 8, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 8 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 8 by a vote of 4-2.
Okay. Discussion on Article 8. Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of Article 8 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, just a little louder now. Article 8, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
It passes. Article 9. Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 9 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 9 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 9? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 10. Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 10 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 10 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Discussion on Article 10. Mr. Fidala.
Hate to be a pain. This thing says that, implies that we haven't had a plan done in 10 years, and then it refers back to the comprehensive plan back in the 90s. The last time this plan was done was in 2015, and it was done in-house by my planning department at no cost to the town. I don't know why we need a $50,000 consultant to do it now. It's been done many times before, just with the staff. So that's my question. Seems like a lot of money for me.
Okay. I don't know if it's a question. Yes.
Hi, Hi, Mary Wagon, 35 Ashumet Road. So I believe, and Evan, I know our town planner is here, but the 10-year gap is because of the 2020 census. So is that right, Evan? So Evan's nodding. Yes. The other thing is, as you know, Tom, I work in affordable housing professionally, and for the town of Yarmouth, even though I'm not representing the town of Yarmouth anyway right now, but we put out an RFP for a housing production plan last year, and I recommended a budget of $25,000 for this because we couldn't get a consultant to even look at our RFP in Yarmouth. We did get somebody to give us a price that fit our budget, but only because they had done the last 3 plans. So when we were discussing this with Evan, we put a budget for $50,000 just so he wouldn't have to come back to town meeting or the Community Preservation Committee for more money. But the goal is to keep it far below the $50,000. And Evan is nodding. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on Article 10? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 10 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It passes. Article 11, Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 11 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 11 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 11? Yes.
Mr. Moderator, Richard DeSarga, 65 Shields Road, and I'm also the schoolmaster at the one-room schoolhouse. I know there was some questions on this. I just wanted to maybe answer why we're putting in air conditioning in a one-room schoolhouse. Over the past summer season, for example, 177 individuals toured through our historic one-room schoolhouse, in addition to the new Mashpee school teachers. The vast majority of the visitors are from Mashpee, but we also hosted visitors from eight states outside of Massachusetts and 10 towns outside of Mashpee. Starting next week, again, we'll continue with the grade 3 students touring through the schoolhouse. Mashpee is indeed fortunate to have such an historic building saved and restored and listed on the National Register. It serves as a special piece of Mashpee and Wampanoag history. We continue to see the growing impact of climate change here in Mashpee, with the summer weather arriving earlier in the spring and lasting longer into the fall. As you have witnessed, summers are hotter and more humid. We have been developing an expansive curriculum for those visiting the schoolhouse. We have a tour that lasts about an hour, with many of the visitors being senior citizens and families with young children. The extreme heat during some of those summer days presents a health condition that is not compatible environment to sit and sweat in an enclosed schoolhouse. We tend to get very few people on those very hot, humid days where they say they are forced to leave due to the heat. With the AC split, we could have a comfortable, climate-controlled setting, much like that in the Wampanoag Museum. The split would be located in the rear upper wall peak of the classroom, as much out of sight as possible. We are told they can be painted, and using a black-brown paint, we can closely blend into the wood beams in that back wall. It would only be used when the school was open for the tours. Former schoolmaster Frank Lord, who many of you knew, used to come out of that schoolhouse on those very hot days wearing his schoolmaster costume, and many voiced concerns about his health in such an environment. Now, wearing that same costume, I can attest to how hot it is inside when I take off the shirt and vest and I get home and it's dripping wet. Nancy Soderberg, the school mom, has expressed similar concerns of how hot it is. Now, the windows are the original. They cannot be open, thus ruling out a portable AC. Plus, I don't think a portable AC will look very historic coming out of the schoolroom windows. The splitter would enhance the visit that people would have. We are hoping to open up this historic site to more of the general population and feel that a comfortable and cool environment in the summer would be a good step forward. In order to install the unit, a trench would have to be dug to the schoolhouse, the electrical system would have to be upgraded and installed, and going out to bid on a municipal project, we have to pay prevailing wages, which is why the cost is up. However, no additional tax increase will occur as we are using previously appropriated community preservation funds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion of cooling off the one room? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 11 as moved, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It passes. Article 12, Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 12 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 12 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 12? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 12 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 13, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 13 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 13 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 13? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 13 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 14, Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 14 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 14 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 14? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 14 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes. Article 15, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 15 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 15 by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. Discussion on Article 15. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 15 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 16, Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 16 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 16 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 16? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 16 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 17, Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 17 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 17 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 16? 17, sorry. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Article 18, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 18 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 18 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 18? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 18 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 19, Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 19 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 19 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 19? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 19 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 20, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 20 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 20 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 20? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Alan Waxman. I live at 35 Santuit Pond Way. That's in the Beechwood Point condominiums. I'm here with John Cabot. We represent the Friends of Santuit Pond. We formed in 2008. We were very involved with the AECOM report, and we were very involved with the AECOM report that I'm going to mention and is mentioned in the explanation, and the installation of the artificial circulators known as solar bees. Okay, so we're here with the endorsement of the Mashpee Environmental Coalition, the Mashpee Ad Hoc Environmental Coalition, owners at Beechwood Point, some owners at Santuit Pond Estates. We're proposing an amendment to Article 20 so that it reads as follows. I'm going to read the amended version. I'm adding several words. To see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $450,000 from revenue available for appropriation to fund Santuit Pond resiliency projects. Implement the stormwater improvements to control external phosphorus sources. Study nutrient inactivation, and then propose to take any other future action relating thereto.
Okay. Stop right there for a minute. Do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'd like to give you a short justification. Okay, so the AECOM Santuit Pond Diagnostic Study, which was done 2008-2009, beginning of 2010, it concluded with the following sentence. AECOM recommends further consideration of artificial circulation and phosphorus inactivation as in-lake management techniques. Continues the restoration strategy should also include techniques to control and reduce external loading. Okay, so what followed from that report and many discussions and town meetings, the town installed 6 solar bee circulators on Santuit Pond in March of 2012. That was a $400,000 investment, funds from CPA and matching funds from the town. Okay, this quickly stopped the seasonal algae blooms that were happening annually. It was actually pretty remarkable. And it improved water clarity significantly year over year through 2016. In the summers of 2017, 2019, and 2021, there were very heavy rainstorms. I could show you the data and the graphs behind it. I'm happy to share this with anybody. Okay, the result of those heavy rains, okay, is that they likely washed fertilizer from neighboring lawns into the pond, along with other organic matter, and that's what triggered the algae blooms. In fact, there's little 2017 followed immediately the very heavy rain, as mentioned by Rick York, our retired shellfish specialist. Okay, so with that, and as I say, since 2019, the water quality has actually been improving. Water clarity data that we, the Friends of Santuit Pond, collected every summer month for 10 years shows this very clearly, how effective the solar bee circulators have been. Again, I know you can't see this, but I'm happy to provide the data, the spreadsheets, the graphs that show this exactly. Okay, so with that, we believe that the internal source of phosphorus, the internal source which is buried in the sediment of the pond, this has really been addressed adequately. As AECOM recommended back in 2010 and noted here in Article 20, what's needed is stormwater controls for stormwater runoff. They need to be installed around the periphery of the pond to catch and filter out this external source of phosphorus. And we've been actively supporting this for 12 years now. The addition of aluminum sulfate, also known as alum, plus other chemicals used for nutrient inactivation, it's fine if you want to study it. It can be studied, but it should not be implemented until we can assess the effectiveness of these new stormwater controls in conjunction with the solar bee circulators. I tell you, it's over 25 tons of chemicals that would be put in the pond. Since alum treatment of the pond will also require the solar bee circulators to be permanently removed or turned off, we believe this would be a mistake if done prematurely and without adequate time to first study the impact that the new stormwater controls will have. I really believe that's the solution to the problem that we've been seeing since 2017. So thank you for your consideration, and I ask you for support in amending the article.
Okay, why don't we first vote to see if you're going to consider the amendment. All those in favor of...
Mr. Moderator, can we have a discussion on the amendment? Because it really changes the article.
I understand that, but we haven't even voted on the amendment yet, to amend. So,
I know, I'm saying...
right. Go ahead.
I think that the practical effect of the amendment is to prevent the town from being able to make a alum treatment of Santuit Pond without first coming back to town meeting in a subsequent year or time.
Correct.
And I would suggest to people that we've all known for a long time, predating the AECOM report, Santuit had poor water quality.
Absolutely.
Maybe the solar bees work at some point. Maybe they didn't. They don't anymore. The things we can control are certainly our stormwater loads, certainly how much fertilizer those of you who live around the pond choose to put on your lawns, whether we choose to sewer or not in that watershed to limit that load. What we can't control is the rain. And the reality of the world we live in today is it rains a lot more. It rains harder for shorter periods of time with more frequency than it used to. The world has changed. So to pretend that we can go back to 2010 and the conditions that existed in that AECOM report and say, if we just keep doing what we were doing with some stormwater control, I think we're dooming Santuit Pond to more years of poor water quality. I am not a particularly big fan in the grand scheme of things of alum treatments, but they have a role and a place. And they have a role and a place in ponds that are about to die, because it buys you time to control the stormwater, control the sewers, your nutrient load. And if we wait, we know what we're going to get. You've had persistent and ongoing algal blooms in Santuit Pond for the better part of the last 4 years. There's no reason to think that's going to change until and unless we intervene. And every time we get to the precipice of proposing to do something to help Santuit Pond, it's always, no, let's wait, let's look at this, let's look at that. People have been crying out for action. This is the one near-term thing that we have under our control, in addition to doing some stormwater, which this original amendment does. So to turn our back on the pond at this point would be wrong. And I would argue oppose the amendment.
May I counter that argument? Because there are a number of things that you said that are incorrect. Okay, so first of all, the solar bees were very effective, and I'm very happy to give you all the data, show it to you. After 10 years of annual algae blooms, they went into the pond March 2012. We never saw another algae bloom until an enormous rainstorm. Please don't confuse rainstorms and internal phosphorus. These are two different problems. We addressed the internal phosphorus that previously was leaking out of the sediment. And we believe the proof is there. The cause of the algae blooms is the stormwater runoff that is bringing fertilizer and organics into the pond. Let's do those stormwater catch basins and filter systems and see how effective that is with the solar beads. When you say they don't work anymore, that is incorrect. When you say that they're going to do anything about incoming stormwater, that is incorrect. Alum treatment is a very short-term treatment. It's typically only good for about 5 years. This is a very shallow pond. People are going to walk on aluminum flocks. And in addition, there's the creation of methyl mercury, which is toxic and works its way through the food chain. So there are many issues with using alum. Dumping 25 to 50 tons of chemicals is not going to solve the problem of the rain. You need the stormwater controls. If you take those solar bees out and throw in alum, you could end up with massive blooms going on and on. So if you want to come back in another 4 years and pay again for another alum treatment, that's what you're going to get into. And
All right, I want to move it along to, who's next? Go ahead, right behind you.
Brian Everett, 77 Forest Drive. I agree with Mr. Gottlieb's statement. Excuse me. I agree with Mr. Gottlieb's statement that the solar bees are not working anymore. The way I can compare it is taking like a bowl of soup, pouring a bunch of salt in it, and taking a spoon and stirring it around and stirring it around. Well, more salt keeps getting dumped in it. Taking that spoon and stirring it around isn't improving your soup. Putting the aluminum sulfate on it, just basically a Band-Aid over this festering wound that is Santua Pond. The ACOM study in 2008 identified 80% of the problem is in Santua Pond already. So we need to find out a way to get rid of the sediment, the phosphates, all the excess nutrients that are in the bottom of Santua Pond. Just having solar bees stirred around is not going to help.
Okay. No. Go ahead. Let's go over here.
Yes, George Schmidt, 17 Santuit Lane, a resident of Mashpee, obviously. And I have 2 letters here which I've been asked to read. The first is from the Bryant's Neck Association, which was sent to the Board of Selectmen. The undersigned are members of the Bryant's Neck Association, owners of homes and cottages on the southern shore of Santuit Pond. We write to inform the Select Board of our strong support for Articles 19, 20, 21, and 22 on the warrant for the May 2nd, 2022 special town meeting. Many of us owned properties for decades back to the 1960s. This makes us parents and our children 3 generations, and starting on the 4th, witnesses to the eutrophication of the pond. It is past time for action, but we can turn the situation around with the programs proposed by Ashley Fisher and the DNR team, combining chemical treatments, improved land use practices, and most essential sewer infrastructure. Bryant's Neck, Timber Lane, and the development on the northeast shore of Santuit Pond should be included in the sewerage plan with a hookup at the earliest possible date. We understand there are benefits, risks, and costs associated with each of these approaches, and each addresses the eutrophication problem in different ways. But the proposed multi-prong approach makes sense to us as a way to address the pond's dire condition. We need action to address the algae immediately, to supplement the solar bees, and to maintain pond health in the long term too. The new town seal, which was voted on this evening, is an image of clean water and balanced ecosystem. We must invest a lot in cleanup so that the ponds and bays today and in the future will be as healthy as what is depicted upon that seal. And it's signed by all but 2 of the homes on Santuit Lane. Those 2 homes did not respond in time for us to get it in here. There is a second letter. Yeah, you certainly may. There is a second letter. I won't read the whole thing. It's rather lengthy. It's written by Stephen Marshank, who is on 51 Timberlane Drive. He's a scientist and director emeritus with the School of Earth Society Environment at the University of Illinois. Sorry, guys. It is a rather lengthy letter, and it goes into a lot of explanations as to why this is the right thing, but he also cross-references several articles. But he does state, cleaning up Santuit Pond there will take a multifaceted approach beyond the solar bees. The key efforts should ultimately include add potassium and aluminum sulfate to the water to remove existing phosphorus in the water by causing it to flocculate and sink to the bottom of the pond. Removal of the nutrient could diminish algae blooms. Keep power boats whose engines are large enough to churn the bottom sludge and send nutrients back to the water column out of the pond. And regulate the use of phosphate fertilizer within the watershed. He attached several articles to it, and there's one I'd like to read.
No.
No?
No. Let's go to the person behind you.
Okay.
Good evening. Irene Shekovich, Sunset Strip. I'm a member of the Mashpee Environmental Coalition. I have to admit, I have to edit what I was going to say in light of some of the leading remarks, so let me just make a few comments. I think everyone agrees that Santuit Pond, it's tragic that nothing has been done since 2010 when that report was first published. It's long overdue stormwater improvements, curbing fertilizers, doing the sewering, et cetera, et cetera. So I think everyone agrees we have to have a multifaceted approach. The key is what to do. I would like to point out that within the ACOM Santuit Pond Diagnostic Study of 2010 itself, which is referenced in the article's explanation, it clearly states in several places that the use of aluminum sulfate at this point in time is premature. Quoting from section 8.6.1, this technique is most effective after other nutrient loadings from the watershed are sufficiently reduced. And from section 8.6.2, I quote, this technique is most successful when external phosphorus loads are minimized. From what I can see to date, such a reduction or minimization has not yet been accomplished. Santuit Pond has been waiting 12 long years for stormwater improvements to occur. So that part of Article 20 is long overdue and is applauded. The intention of the proposed amendment is to guarantee that those stormwater improvements do indeed occur, and I may add as quickly as possible, but that no application of aluminum sulfate is even considered without follow-up studies to see how those completed stormwater improvements are working in conjunction with the solar bees. In conclusion, just as shellfish alone cannot fix Pompanesett Bay, so too no one should expect solar bees alone to fix Santuit Pond. Article 20, with the amendment, is a great first step in helping the solar bees with this effort. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Again, we're going to vote to whether or not to amend, first of all. So all those in favor of amending Article 20 say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
No. Try one more time. All those in favor of amending Article 20 say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay. You're going to raise your cards. All those in favor of amending Article 20, please raise your cards.
I can tear mine in half. You can just cover part of it.
You may have to. No, you don't have to.
Okay.
I am too. No, we don't. Really? But I'm going by Andy's. I'm going by you. Because I don't know.
I don't think stormwater controls are going to be effective. Yes, the storm. They didn't go much stop it. They come. So it's done on the back end of the road. So it shouldn't even affect them. It's leaf scatter.
Bless you.
I was just looking at the map here.
And I'm using that one chemical.
You're gonna let me know. Is that it? Just 4 counts? All right. All those opposed to amending, raise your cards.
We're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You know? Shoot.
Wait a minute. Okay, the right to amend passes 258 to 130. All right, now discussion on the amendment, which we've had, but any more?
May I respond to some of the other points that were raised?
No, but if you want to add something different, be my guest. Yes, sir.
Hi, Richard Buck, 54 Bayberry. Has there been any thought of cordoning off a small area rather than kind of napalming? I'm not saying it's not the best idea. I don't know enough about it, but how about a study in a small section of the pond? Thank you.
I don't know if anybody wants to, you want to respond to that one, you can.
Yeah, it would not be practical to do what the gentleman suggested because the solar bees circulate water. Right? The solar bee circulators will circulate that water and essentially mix the aluminum sulfate throughout the pond and the flock. You're not going to get the same assessment.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'm going to move the question. I think everybody wants to help the pond. You're voting on the amendment. All those in favor of Article 20 as amended, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
It passes. Okay, Article 21. Mr. Weed.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 21 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 21 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 21? Mr. Fowler.
Just a suggestion. This is talking about improving the fish ladders at Mashpee and John's Pond. As anybody who's been counting herring, like I have around town, the worst ladder is Santuit Pond. And I hope, I'm all in favor of this article, but I hope that Santuit Pond gets looked at and we get an article to fix that ladder, because it's terrible to see thousands of fish in the river, but none of them can get up the ladder. So that's my comment.
Okay. That was a comment. Any other discussion, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 21 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 22. Mr. Gottlieb.
Move the town vote to approve Article 22 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase or take any other action relating thereto.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 22 by a vote of 7-0.
Discussion on Article 22. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 22 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Take a motion to adjourn the special town meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Well, welcome again. I'm not going to stand up on this one. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and summons the inhabitants of the town of Mashpee who are qualified to vote in the elections to meet at the Mashpee High School on Monday, 2nd day of May 2022 at 7 p.m. It is 8 p.m. now, for the following purposes. All right, I'll take a motion by Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to dispense with the reading of the annual town meeting warrant articles.
Do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Don't get to hear me, huh? All right, Article 1. Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Motion be made. I move that the town vote to approve Article 1 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase or take any other action related thereto.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 1 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Any discussion on accepting the town reports? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 1 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Article 2 is what is known as the Omnibus motion. I am going to read Article 2, and as traditional, I'm going to go through each line. If there's a hold, yell it out. If there's not a hold, we'll keep going. We're going to revisit the holds at the end. I'll go quick in the spirit of this meeting. But again, if anybody questions any of the line items, yell out hold, and we'll go back. All right, so Article 2 is to see if the town will vote to fix the salaries of the following elected officers as provided in Chapter 41, Section 108 of the Massachusetts General Laws for the period of July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, and further to see if the town will vote to appropriate, raise, and/or transfer a sum of money to defray the town's expenses for the ensuing fiscal year according to the following line item budget with the maximum amount to be appropriated as shown in the column entitled Fiscal Year 2023 Department Request. See Omnibus Budget or take any other action related thereto. All right, the moderator, $200. Total, $200.
I think we should raise it.
Now you know why I'm
I think we should raise it now.
You're gonna get rich.
Selectmen, salary elected, $15,500. Salary wage, $436,055. Expense, $38,500. Legal engineering consulting, $385,000. Total selectmen, $875,055. Finance Committee, reserve fund, $100,000. Expense, $75,000. Total, $175,000. Town accountant salary wage, $304,765. Expense, $3,175. Total, $307,940. Assessor salary appointed, $3,000. Salary wage, $266,788. Expense, $6,000. Total, assessors, $275,788. Treasurer tax collector salary wage, $274,760. Expense, $47,400. Debt service, $2,500. Foreclosure, $12,000. Total, $336,660. Human resources salary wage, $436,813. Expense, $100,637. Total, $537,450. I have no holds on that page. IT, salary wage, $389,985. Expense, $321,756. Equipment replacement, $27,000. Total, $738,741. Town clerk, salary elected, $98,890. Salary wage, $108,890. Expense, $8,875. Total town clerk, $216,655. Elections and registration, salary wage, $66,486. Expense, $27,200. Total, $93,686. Conservation, salary wage, $220,561. Expense, $5,824. Herring expense, $500. Total, $226,885. Natural resources, salary wage, $643,420. Expense, $189,710. Propagation, $240,650. Total natural resources, $1,073,780. Planning board, expense, $11,125. Total, $11,125. Planning department, salary wage, $152,930. Expense, $4,125. Total, $157,055. Town hall expense, $282,000. Total, $282,000. No holds on that page. On what? On what? Natural resources, which line? 30?
Salary wage.
Okay. Just please yell out a little louder. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, police, salary wage, $4,610,509. Expense, $317,681. Dispatcher salary wage, $571,660. Total, police, $5,499,850. Fire salary wage, $4,347,867. Expense, $514,693. Total fire, $4,862,560. Building inspector salary wage, $341,776. Expense, $32,070. Total, $373,846. Tree warden. Nothing. I don't know. All right, school budget, $23,402,261.
Tree one's been incorporated into another budget.
Total, $23,402,261. DPW salary wage, $2,827,614. Expense, $1,098,985. Buildings and grounds, $1,440,481. Total, $5,367,080. Snow and ice, expense, $116,570. Total, $116,570. Street lighting, expense, $22,000. Total, $22,000. Transfer station, $1,120,062. Total, $1,120,062. Waste, no holds on that page. Wastewater, salary, $119,139. Expense, $13,450. Total, $132,589. Cemetery expense, $15,000. Total, $15,000. Health, salary appointed, $3,000. Salary wage, $309,339. Expense, $63,540. Why is cemetery right before health? All right, council on aging, salary wage, $270,485. Expense, $45,973. Total, $316,458. Veterans expense, $110,000. Membership, $45,650. Total veterans, $155,650. Human services, salary wage, $91,228. Human services expense, $51,910. Total, $143,138. Library, salary wage, $554,725. expense $208,624, total library $763,349. Recreation, salary wage $317,433, expense $30,875, total $348,308. No holds on that page. Historical, temp wage $10,000, expense $6,830, total $16,830. Cultural council $90, expense total $90. Principal inside 2.5, $978,800. Principal outside 2.5, $795,000. Interest inside 2.5, $170,040. Interest outside 2.5, $232,975. Temporary borrowing inside 2.5, $22,875. Temporary borrowing outside 2.5, $31,000. Retirement expense, $4,062,220. Unemployment, $40,000. Medical insurance, $8,251,590. Group insurance, $15,845. Medicare, $533,671. Town insurance, $1,057,815. Total, $64,531,371. I have one hold going back to Natural Resources, salary and wage. Person who held it, have a question?
Corrine Wickel, 87 River Road. I was just curious as to what the $134,488 increase was for.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, I'd also just want to point out to the audience, in terms of the tree warden, that wasn't eliminated, it was just transferred to another expense, conservation. So just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Ready for me? Good evening, Ashley Fisher, Natural Resource Director. This increase was the hire of a administrative secretary part-time and also an increase in staffing hours for the summer propagation program and harbor master program.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I release the hold. I am going to release the hold. All right. I will take Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to fix the salaries of the elected officers as specified under the columns entitled Town Manager Recommendation in line items 2 and 24 of the Omnibus budget, as distributed to the voters at the town meeting, and further that the town defray the expenses for the ensuing fiscal year by appropriation. These amounts shown under columns entitled Town Manager Recommendations, and that to fund said appropriation, the town raise and appropriate $61,539,964, and further appropriate and transfer from the ambulance receipts reserve for appropriation account $450,000 to line item 40, $50,000 to line item 41, $120,000 to line item 71, $12,000 to line item 73. Appropriate and transfer from the shellfish receipts reserved for appropriation account $25,000 to line item 32. Appropriate and transfer from the Waterways Improvement Fund $38,000 to line item 31. Appropriate and transfer from the cemetery receipts reserved for appropriation account $15,000 to line item 54. Appropriate transfer from the street betterment receipts reserved for appropriation account $380,000 to line item 71. $78,725 to line item 73, and $22,875 to line item 75. Appropriate and transfer from the septic betterment receipts reserved in appropriation account $18,797 to line item 71, $14,510 to line item 56, and appropriate and transfer from the Community Preservation Act Fund $250,000 to line item 71, and $16,500 to line item 73, and appropriate and transfer from revenue available for appropriation $1,500,000 to line item 79.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 2 by a vote of 6-0.
All right, discussion overall on the omnibus budget. Hold on. Go ahead, sir. No.
Dick Weiner of 13 Sea Spray. I'd like to call your attention to back to page 4 of our book. It shows that we have expenses of some $64 million in one of the graphs early on in the brochure here. Then over on page 5, it shows the revenue to be $69 million. There's a $5 million difference between expenses and revenue. Can you explain that?
We'll have our town accountant explain it.
This is over on the beginning of our brochure, page 4, in the very top. It says 2023. The expenses are going to be $64,531,000, some change. Then over on page 5, right next to it, the sources of revenue at the very top of the page. It's $69 million.
Okay, she's going to explain it to everyone. We have different books, unfortunately, so the pages are off.
Two separate books.
And you want to transfer everything to line item number 1, I might stay on.
The Finance Committee might be able
Okay,
to...
here we go.
The Finance Committee may be able to explain this. This is...
Wait. Go ahead.
Sorry. The Finance Committee may be able to explain this. This is in your report. It's a difference between the actual total FY23 operating budget versus the total FY23 revenues.
I believe
the 64 million versus the 69.
Right.
That's his question.
I believe the difference is the fact that the total sources of revenues includes money for capital.
So it would be actually the capital budget, which is coming up next for a vote, is included in the revenue. Mr. Pettingill, if you'd like to explain this to the gentleman again.
Yeah, the sources of revenues covers all the revenues that are taken in, which would fund both the operating budget as well as the capital improvement budget.
So we therefore have a $5 million surplus?
Capital improvement is separate.
Mr. Gottlieb.
So we've got the operating budget, we've got the capital budget you're going to vote on, and then there's money we don't spend in this warrant. Every nickel that we collect, we have needs that will be brought to you in the fall, in the October meeting, that rely on some of that differential. And then we tend to carry over a little bit of money so that we have an adequate amount of free cash year over year to deal with variability in our spending and needs.
$5 million carryover?
No. What's going
on?
Well, there's where it goes, right there.
We need to do some maintenance on the fan. We're going
Saved by the bell.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Shauna Pitt, 30 Uncle Edwards. And my question is, how many town employees do we actually have?
Town employees. Would that
Full-time
include the
and
school?
part-time?
So assuming.
And school in town, or?
So the budget, when you look at like the medical expenses, I'm assuming that's medical expenses for everyone employed by the town of Mashpee.
That is correct.
So how many people does that represent?
Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly how many the school and the town are. I can get that number and give it to you momentarily. What I would also say is, in regards to the insurance cost, I believe it's been 2 or 3 years that we've been hit with zero, which has been very fortunate, and we did plan this year on getting some sort of an increase, which obviously we did, and I think it's been 3 years at zero, maybe 4.
It's more as a kind of a new resident of Mashpee. It was more of a curiosity question, just to kind of understand the budget more holistically.
So you're looking for both town and school?
Total employees.
Total. We're going to get that.
We can always add one more, being new. All right, we got to spend some money on that fan. Any other questions on Article 2? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 2 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Okay, Article 3, I will not read each line, but I will certainly, you guys have it. Does anybody want to hold any one of these line items? Go to the mic and ask away.
Ken Dabrowski, 3 Greatfield Landing. Just curious, of the 14 police vehicles, how many of these are electric?
Police. Not police.
Well, there's the chief over there. Are there any electric police cars? There are none. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Christopher Nelson, 30 Palmer Road. Noted on fire, it says, purchase 2 vehicles, Chief 371, Inspector 373. Just curious as to manufacturer model. Since we have the vehicles already, I'm assuming we're going to keep the same manufacturer model equipment, so the equipment that's used inside the vehicles is retained, or are we changing manufacturers as well?
We have a new fire chief, I hope everybody knows. Welcome. Now, the fire trucks are electric.
Hi, Jack Fallon, obviously the fire chief. The 2 vehicles we're getting are replacing 2 8-year-old vehicles. The equipment that we can retain in the vehicles, we will switch over. If some of the stuff in the back, the compartment stuff, may have to be replaced, but we'll transfer everything we can that we can.
Yeah, I just don't know if you were going Ford to Ford or Ford to Chevy.
They're going to be Ford to Ford.
Okay.
Same make and models.
That was all I was curious.
Thanks.
You work for Ford? Okay. Any other line item questions? No. No. Oh, I apologize. You got a thumbs up. All right. I will take a motion from Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $1,385,740 from the Capital Stabilization Fund to various department capital accounts as specified in the chart accompanying this article.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 3 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, any discussion on Article 3 besides the questions that we've had? Seeing none, we need a 2/3 vote on this. All those in favor of Article 3 as moved, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous. Okay, Article 4, Mr. Gottlieb.
Moderator, move the town vote to approve Article 4 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase or take any other action relating thereto.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 4 by a vote of 6-0.
Any discussion regarding the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 4 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 5, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 5 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 5 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Discussion on Article 5. Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 5 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 6, Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 6 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 6 by a vote of 6-0.
Discussion on Article 6. Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 6 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 7, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 7 as printed in the warrant, with the exception in the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 7 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, any discussion on Article 7?
Planning Board.
Yep. Any discussion from the Planning Board? I'll read the Planning Board motion to recommend approval passed unanimously 5-0. Discussion on Article 7. Seeing none, I need a 2/3 vote on Article 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 8, Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 8 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 8 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Discussion on Article 8. Mr. Fidelli.
Jerry, this is going to apply to a couple articles. The warrant says C map and Appendix A, so we can figure out where this property is. And there is no Appendix A and there are no maps. So I don't know if that creates some kind of legal fault with the article or what, but just like to have town council confirm where we're at.
I see. This is Appendix A. I have attached to the warrant. There it is, right there.
What he's talking about.
It's in this appendix. It's not.
The description is in the appendix. So,
On page 50.
Town Council's okay with the article.
Page 50, Jerry.
Page 50.
Page 50. Tell
Page 50.
So again, there was an error in the Finance Committee's report where it was not included.
Oh.
That's what they're referring to.
Okay, it's on the official warrant, and it's page 50 if anybody wants to come up and look. Any other questions or discussion? Town Council's okay with it?
Yeah, that's fine, as described.
As it was described appropriately. All right, seeing none, I need a 2/3 vote on Article 8. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 9, Mr. Gottlieb.
Moderator, move the town vote to approve Article 9 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 9 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Discussion on Article 9. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 10, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 10 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Do I have a second? Have a second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 10 by a vote of 6-0.
All right. Discussion on Article 10. Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 10 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 11, Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 11 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 11 by a vote of 5-0 to 1 abstention.
Okay. Discussion on Article 11. Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 11 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 12, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 12 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 12 by a vote of 6-0.
Discussion on Article 12. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 12 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 13, Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 13 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 13 by a vote of 6-0.
Discussion on Article 13. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 13 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 14, Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate the sum of $596,054 to provide for road improvement projects in and for the town in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 90 of Massachusetts General Laws, and to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow said sum of $596,054 under and pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds and notes of the town thereof.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 14 by a vote of 6-0.
Discussion on Article 14.
This me. I tend to read these things. In the explanation, it says fiscal year 22. Is that correct, or shouldn't it be 23? We're almost done with fiscal year 22.
I see 23.
It's fiscal 23.
Sorry?
The explanation is there. It's fiscal 23.
23.
So it is for 23 fiscal year. The explanation was 22, it's wrong. Typo.
I thought Andy just said 23.
It's 23.
That's what he just
Yeah,
said,
the
23.
explanation's wrong.
Yeah, the warrant's wrong. Okay.
No, the explanation's wrong.
The explanation is wrong, the typo. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I need 2/3 on Article 14. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 15, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 15 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 15 by a vote of 6-0.
Any discussion on the Kids Club? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 15 say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 16, Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you again, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 16 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 16 by a vote of 6-0.
Any discussion on Article 16? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 16 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 17, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 17 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 17 by a vote of 6-0.
Any discussion on Article 17? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 18, Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 18 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 18 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Any discussion on 18? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 18 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 19, Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, move the town vote to approve Article 19 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 19 by a vote of 6-0.
Discussion on Article 19. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 19 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 20 is a petition article. Yep, on a microphone, please.
Michael Burge, 37 Christopher Lane. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 20 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or taken any other action relating thereto."
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 20 by a vote of 6-0.
Discussion on Article 20. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 20 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 21 is a petition article. Yes, ma'am.
Mina Wallace, 15 Oldham Circle. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 21 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 21 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Any discussion on Article 21? Mr. Fidalgo.
The last time this came up, there was an issue of this large retaining wall that was never approved by the planning board. The board's never signed off on this. I just want to check with Catherine whether or not these funds include properly rebuilding that properly engineered retaining wall.
It does.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You've used up your questions. All right. Any other discussion on Article 21? Seeing none, I need 2/3 on this one. All those in favor of Article 21 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Article 22 is a petition article.
Richard DeSauga, 65 Shields Road. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 22 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
I have a second.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 22 by a vote of 5-1.
Discussion. Yes, sir.
Hi, Dan Kupferman, Tracy Lane. Yeah, I don't think that is the town center. This is from the Urban Land Institute. It's a nonprofit research and educational planning organization. What is a town center? A town center is an enduring, walkable, and integrated open-air multi-use development that is organized around a clearly identifiable and energized public realm where citizens can gather and strengthen their community bonds. It is anchored by retail, dining, and leisure uses, as well as by vertical or horizontal residential uses. At least one other type of development is included in a town center, such as office, hospitality, civic, and cultural uses. Over time, a town center should evolve into the densest, most compact, and most diverse part of a community with strong connections to its surroundings. Now, I have nothing to do with Mashpee Commons other than, like a lot of other people in this room, that I shop there. But that's the town center. Mashpee Commons has restaurants, stores, mini golf, ice cream, candy, etc. It has a chamber of commerce. It has a post office, our post office. It has a movie theater, a supermarket, an animal hospital, an optometrist, a co-working space, banks, dry cleaners, a law office, dialysis, orthodontist, the We Are Mashpee School Outreach Center, a barber. It also has a residential component, and it's surrounded by other stores, banks, and restaurants. And regardless of how you feel about it, that's what a town center is. That's our town center.
Yes, sir.
Richard DeSarga, 65 Shields Road. This article is simply asking the town to affirm what is factual information, and that is the town center of Mashpee is and has been for hundreds of years the area around the intersection of Great Neck Road North and Main Street. This is the center of Mashpee's governmental, social, historical, and community activity. Here is located Mashpee's Community Park, the Veterans Garden with its honor stones to honor the memory of those from Mashpee who gave their lives for our country. The new Mashpee War Memorial with the names of 254 veterans who served in our nation's war, from the Revolutionary War to Vietnam. Here is the Mashpee Town Hall, the Mashpee Archives Building, which holds our history, the historic 1831 one-room schoolhouse. Here is Mashpee's only historic district. Here is Mashpee's Community Garden, the Mashpee Wampanoag Museum, the Herring Run, the Baptist Church, and other businesses. Here concerts take place in the public during the summer months. The town's official Christmas tree is here. Town celebrations and programs for Veterans Day and Memorial Day are here. Town recreational activities take place in Community Park, as do private and commercial events. Now, the reason this article is coming before the town meeting, to be honest with you, is that with the proposed expansion of Mashpee Commons, we want to make sure that any information going to the Cape Cod Commission and to the Cape Cod Regional Plan or any other official plans do not confuse Mashpee Commons and the area around the Rotary as the town center of Mashpee, as maps and literature in Mashpee Commons have shown. They use the term town center. The town center is the area around Great Neck Road, North, and Main Street. Now, perhaps the designation of town center could permit future Mashpee Commons development from not having to set aside as much open space as it would be without such a designation. I don't know. But before maps and documents begin calling Mashpee Commons the Mashpee Town Center, we want to make sure we do not erase Mashpee's history. The town has a long and proud history. We want to affirm that the current common knowledge and fact is that the town center of Mashpee is the area around Great Neck Road North and Main Street. We're simply asking you to affirm what has been and are facts. Thank you.
Suzanne Pettengill, 43 Deerfield Road. Not much I can add to that other than the fact that we have surrounding communities that are constantly trying to preserve the history of their towns, and the fact that we would go with shopping as being the #1 reason to call an area the center of town is ridiculous. It's the history. Thank you.
You're done. Yes, ma'am.
Alana Doyle, Sunset Strip. Just wanted to add, not just Mashpee Commons. I mean, we do have a lot of other town resources in that general area. All of our schools are in that area, as well as our fire department, police station, senior center, post office, and many other places that the community gathers. The previous speaker before me is correct, because this article really comes down to housing. When you look at what the Cape Cod Commission and even organizations like HAC advocate for, they advocate for more housing in community centers. Now, the community center that we have right now, I mean, I live very close to that area. There is not really any more space to add housing there. So I think this article really comes back to wanting to not promote any new housing in Mashpee. And that's what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Fidala.
That's ridiculous. The center of Mashpee, as marked on every map you'll ever see, is at Town Hall, is at that intersection. That is Mashpee Center. The historic district that was created there is called the Mashpee Center Historic District. And if you happen to go by the Rotary, you'll see a sign that points you north 5 miles to Mashpee. It's not at the Rotary. Town Hall is the center of Mashpee. That's the historic center. That's what this article is all about.
Mr. Moderator,
Okay.
move the question.
Gonna move the question.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of Article 22 as moved, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay. It passes. Article 23 is a petition article.
Lanny Williams, Simons Narrows Road. The town administration promises me that they will, with great alacrity, address this issue. So at this point, the question is moot. So I move to indefinitely postpone.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 23 and putting seamstress everywhere out of business, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, indefinitely postponed. Article 24 is a petition article.
Gregory Auger, 249 Simons Narrows. Mr. Moderator, I wish to indefinitely postpone Article 24. We will revisit at a later time. Troll Pond will return.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on indefinitely postponing Article 24? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It is indefinitely postponed. Article 25 is a petition article. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 25.
Can't hear you.
I move the town vote to approve Article 25 as printed in the warrant.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion on Article 25. Yes, ma'am.
Nicole Bartlett, 28 Sampson's Mill Road. This is the land acknowledgement article, correct? 25?
Article 25.
Okay. I just wanted to say that the way that this article is worded directs the select board to develop and ultimately read a land acknowledgement at their meetings. In my opinion, a land acknowledgement is something that should evolve out of collective action and shared sense of purpose. It's not a box to check. While I have no doubt that the intention of this article is good, I wonder if the select board and tribe are there yet. Given that the select board and the FinCom both unanimously voted to make no recommendation on this article, I suspect not. Mashpee Public Schools developed a land acknowledgement in partnership with the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. It is one of several collaborative actions that we undertook with a renewed sense of purpose and responsibility when the district renewed its partnership with the tribe in 2017. A team of both tribal and district leaders meets quarterly to set the direction for this continued partnership. It problem solves, it grapples with near-term and long-standing issues that confront our community. It's not easy. It's work that takes commitment and a lot of engaged and committed people. I look forward to our select board identifying shared priorities with the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and committing to regular conversations to address these priorities. I know that they have a meeting coming up in May, a few weeks, but the last one between the Tribal Council and the Board of Selectmen was 4 years ago. To me, this is the responsibility of the Select Board, and it goes far beyond reading a land acknowledgement at the beginning of their meetings. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to further comment on that. Yes, this statement is symbolic. It will not affect in any legal way the way our two communities conduct business together. This acknowledgement is just the starting point, and we need to start somewhere. Obviously, if the Select Board wanted to do this voluntarily, it would be done already, and we need to pass this article to ask them to please put this into motion. Starting somewhere is better than not trying at all.
Okay.
Mr.
All right,
Moderator.
well, why don't we try to
Jeremy,
see where we are with this
Mr. Moderator,
question?
Jeremy.
if I may.
I'm sorry?
David
Oh,
would like
Mr. Weed.
I appreciate both sides of the conversation on this. We have put this as one of the items to be discussed on our agenda for our future joint meeting, and there was going to be further discussion to that point. So at this point in time, I'd recommend tabling it until a future date, indefinitely postponing.
Thank you,
Okay.
David.
We'll go back to you.
Wendy Williams, Simons Narrows Road. This is, in some sense, a symbolic instruction to the Select Board. And I agree with the previous speaker that maybe what this would do would be to task the Select Board to seriously work with the tribe. That's why it doesn't say what the acknowledgement should say. It says create an acknowledgement. And if that requires that the Select Board works seriously with the tribe to come up with an acknowledgement that all parties are happy with, then I think the town would be happy as well. So although I understand that David is asking for it to be tabled at this point, this is really a decision in which the town is saying to the Select Board, get off your little rear ends and address this issue because you haven't addressed it yet.
Okay, going to call the question. All those in favor of Article 25 as moved and seconded, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
One more time. All those in favor of Article 25, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
It's defeated.
Meeting.
Article 26 is a petition article.
Not theirs.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Chad Smith, 75 Quiniquisette. I move that the town vote to approve Article 26 as written in the warrant.
Okay, do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded. Board of Selectmen recommend approval on this article? They do. 5-0. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee does not recommend approval of Article 26 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Discussion on, yes, sir. Hey, go closer to the mic, please.
Go closer to the mic.
There you go.
I'm almost eating it. Patrick Flynn, Forest Drive. I really feel this article has no value, as I believe it's the Select Board's inherent job to ensure that taxes are fair and equitable across the town. I think this is, I don't want to call it political theater, but I don't believe this is a necessary thing. And I agree with the Finance Committee that we should defeat this.
Yes, sir.
Was there someone other than me, Mr. Moderator, who wanted to comment?
No. So, I mean,
This
you don't have to
gentleman
if you
down
don't
front
want to.
would like to.
All right, you want to wait? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Ken Dabrowski again. I guess my question is to whoever, put this thing forward. Is this just an analysis, or is there an action that's supposed to come out of this thing? I'm a little confused. I mean, a recommendation, or what are we looking for here?
It's an analysis. I introduced this language to direct the select board to look at ways to put together the brain trust to solve the problem that's coming of raising taxes on our residents while everything's already quite expensive as it is.
Okay, so it's not binding?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, cool.
Okay, seeing no further discussion. All those in favor of Article 26, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
One more time. All those in favor of Article 26 as moved, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
All right, get your cards out. All those in favor of Article 26, please raise your yellow cards. That was too close to call. Yeah. You guys awake down there?
Huh?
Taking notes, John?
Learning from the best. I'll make it, I think.
Got it. Stay on this side. All those opposed, raise your yellow cards, please. It's approved 197 to 133. Okay, Article 27 is a petition article. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Amber Butko. I live at 75 Harwich Road. I move the town vote to approve Article 27 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase "or take any other action relating thereto."
Do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded. The Board of Selectmen does not recommend approval of Article 27 by a vote of 3 to 2. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 27 by a vote of 4 to 2.
Okay. Discussion on Article 27. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Just a little louder.
Phyllis Sprout, 91 Quiniquisette Avenue. I want to speak to this article and clarify something that is not listed by the numbers, and that is the size of the bottle that will be the new Mashpee minimum. I believe in props. This is the new Mashpee minimum. As of October 1st, you will not be able to purchase water off the shelf in a store or in a vending machine in any size under 1 gallon. And I'm shaking because this thing is 9 pounds. So imagine going to a beach. You come down the bridge, you get stuck in traffic, you finally get to South Cape Beach, and what do you bring? You pick up your water at Stop and Shop. You have your personal stainless steel bottle and your funnel.
What is it? A
funnel. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the choice of continuing to buy and sell water in the most easily recycled product available on the planet when it comes to plastic, or this monster. Now, wait a minute. This ban has been tried at the University of Vermont back in 2013. There was this promise that it would reduce trash. So they took it out of the vending machines. They made 60 water filling stations for those beautiful stainless steel bottles. And after 2 years, the results came in, and the sale of sugary drinks that were in the vending machines went up by 25%, and the trash went up by 8%. And that was just with the ban of the sale of plastic water bottles. Now, good news is that as of Friday, the researchers and scientists in England and Austin, Texas, have created a new enzyme that can break down plastics that typically take decades or centuries to degrade within a matter of days or hours. And their goal is to use enzymes to quickly break down post-consumer waste plastics at room temperatures. This study, published on Friday in the journal Nature, says that the enzyme can help in recovering and reusing plastics at the molecular level and potentially supercharge recycling on a large scale and allow industries to reduce their environmental impact. I'm not going to vote to remove life-saving, conveniently packaged products in the hope the amount of trash will go down. This decision should be based on solid numbers, and we didn't hear any solid numbers last October, and I haven't heard any numbers specific to Mashpee since then. I love to save the earth, but my recycling is like my medical decisions. It's my decision. And I am for being able to buy and sell products that are not dangerous and damaging to the earth. And, excuse me, Mr. Faduli, you can keep your comments to yourself while I'm talking. Thank you.
You're the petitioner. We'll go over there. You're lining up, but what's something new every time, please. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Virginia Scharfenberg, the original citizen petitioner for the commercial single-use plastic water bottle ban that passed last fall. I am here to urge voters tonight to vote no on Article 27. I'm not going to repeat in detail all the known public health and environmental degradation issues associated with the production, consumption, and disposal of plastics. Instead, I want to address a variety of assumptions that some people have. 1, the commercial ban is not about taking water away from people. It is about the container water comes in. Water is plentiful and is readily available for all of us on Cape Cod. 2, the switch away from single-use plastic bottles of unflavored and uncarbonated water to other alternatives is about our public health, environment, and our children's future. It is about readily available alternatives for water consumption. 3, this issue is about personal choice, specifically whether we continue to choose to use single-use plastic whose production, consumption, and disposal severely compromise our family's health and our children's environmental future, or we decide to choose another readily available receptacle, such as a stainless steel reusable bottle or glass or aluminum single-use containers. 4, what about people's insistence on our right to convenience? What could be more convenient than always having a reusable container of water in your car or truck? What could be more convenient than having another one in your backpack, your lunchbox, or at your desk? 5, what about cost? You can bring your water from home, which costs next to nothing. You save yourself the trouble and the expense by having your own with you. What about the impact on convenience stores and smaller operations? Merchants know what sells in their stores, and that is what they market. Single-use plastic water bottles are a small fraction of what they make available to their customers. If there is still a demand for single-use water containers, they will do as other small shop owners around the Cape in the multiple towns that have enacted a commercial ban have already done. They will provide it in alternative packaging. As an aside, I visited Stop and Shop in Falmouth last week and saw at least 6 types of single-use water containers, as well as a huge supply of 1-gallon and 5-gallon containers for people who choose to buy a larger amount. Next, what about households where well water is compromised? Water is available in containers other than single-use water bottles, and of course there are many types of filtration systems. What about emergency situations? Where there is a public emergency affecting the availability and/or quality of drinking water to residents of Mashpee or any other town, there is an exemption from the bylaw until 7 days after the declaration has ended. I'm asking you to vote no on Article 27. Please join me in voting no so that Mashpee can continue its plans to join 9 other Cape towns that have already enacted the commercial ban. Plastics are suffocating the entire world. It's something that we have to be conscientious about not using when we have a choice not to use it. This is a choice that Mashpee has. It was passed last fall. I urge you to continue. We can make a difference, be an example for other communities, and steward our portion of the earth. Vote no on 27.
All right, we're going over here. We'll go back and forth. Go ahead.
Hi, excuse me. I did prepare a couple of comments, if you would bear with me so I could read. By voting yes on this petition, it would reverse the impending ban on the commercial sale of single-use water bottles throughout the town of Mashpee, which is set to go into effect, as she said, on September 30th. The petition was initiated following conversations and discussions with members of our community who expressed frustration with the impending ban. Thank you to those who assisted with this process. Why ban plastic water bottles? Why not move to create legislation which would change the packaging of all single-use plastic drinks and have a deposit placed on these bottles, even increase the deposit to 10 cents? It makes sense, right? Why not move to, oops, sorry, I'm reading the same thing. People will recycle, and there will be less litter. Money left over from unclaimed bottles could be used to help keep our environment clean and friendly. Our current bottle bill needs updating. It's about 40 years old. The good news is that Massachusetts is moving in this direction. An article written in February I read it from WCVB, said that the Better Bottle Bill was filed by Representative Marjorie Decker and Senator Cindy Cream. This bill would increase the bottle deposit from 5 to 10 cents, add additional types of beverages and containers to the program, including non-sparkling water, energy drinks, sports drinks, etc., all of which weren't contemplated or simply didn't exist when the initial bottle bill was created in the early 80s. Passing such a bill would increase the amount of recycled from the deposit return system from 42 to 95%, as it would increase the type of plastics, aluminum, and glass which would be used and which would have a refundable deposit. To me, this is huge. The model that I read predicted that 14 million fewer glass and plastic and aluminum beverage containers would be thrown away or on the ground every year in New England. By recycling using our deposit return system, there is less risk of contamination of beverage containers, which increases the amount which is eligible to actually be recycled. This type of recycling also makes it less confusing for us, the consumers. The more bottles that are actually recycled, the less fossil fuels we will use to produce new containers. Massachusetts could essentially eliminate 138,000 tons of CO2 emissions every year. This is equivalent of removing over 30,000 cars from the road. I think that's impressive. I'd like to make one last point just to ponder. For those who may not want to spend the extra 10 cents on a bottle, it would encourage the use of reusable, refillable containers for drinking water and other beverages. I do want to thank the efforts of Sustainable Practices and all those who do lobby for our environment, but I think we need to be creative in the ways in which we do so. Let's take a break from our cancel culture and not ban our right to purchase bottled water. I ask that you join me in voting yes on Article 27 today. Vote yes, not because we like plastic, not because we don't like our environment. Vote yes because there are other options to protect our environment without banning our right to purchase plastic water bottles. Thank you for your time.
Hey, ma'am.
Terry Ronhawk, Sunset Circle. I obviously live in Mashpee, but I teach kindergarten in Fairhaven. And unfortunately, this past year, we were not able to use the water in Fairhaven. And I'm not insinuating in any way that that would happen in Mashpee, but as a kindergarten teacher, I saw the effect of not being able to have children refill their water bottles. And I applaud the schools for having the 8th graders write some of the articles, because for young children, bringing in a disposable water bottle every day, it makes a difference in their learning. And I understand that having refillable water bottles is a great choice. I often bring mine, but sometimes it's forgotten, or in the hectic days of our lives, we forget them. And to be able to go over without water for young children in schools, or teachers even, is detrimental to our ability to be able to function in the schools. The other thing I want to point out is that as a Cape Cod resident who has many visitors during the summer for beach and cookouts, and I like to have water bottles that my guests can grab to bring to the beach or have at a cookout. So that means I'm going to shop off Cape to be able to get that water. And I wonder how many people will do that and how that will affect our local economy if everyone's going off Cape to do their shopping. I'm not going to go and buy a case of water. I'm going to do all my shopping when I go off Cape. Just some points. I think that this article should be a yes vote for 27.
Okay.
Good evening, Ted L. and Pem Lane. I also ask you to vote in favor of Article 27. Actions such as bottle bans, while well-intended, will have a negligible, if any, positive impact on our environment. Actions like this always have unintended consequences. We know that this will have financial, health, and some negative environmental consequences. Has anyone considered what it takes, how much energy it takes to wash tens of thousands of reusable water bottles every year? How much water does that use? How much more soap will go into our water table? How much gas is going to have to be burned by those of us that need to go to surrounding communities just to buy cases of water and do our shopping elsewhere, as you pointed out? What about the health benefits of those who reach for a sugar drink instead of something with zero sugar? What about the illnesses from people that drink from bottles that haven't been cleaned properly, because they do need to be cleaned properly? Not everybody always has the time. How much our additional medical costs will have to occur? How much lost revenue will it be from our town businesses? How much legal costs will it be to our town from a merchant that says they've had enough, that decides to sue our town and take us to court and fight over this? These costs, as they always do, will fall on our poorest citizens more than anyone else. I fully support those, God bless them, that decide that they're going to use 100% recyclable containers. So good on them. But I do not support this minority forcing their choice on the rest of us. I recycle every water bottle I use. That is my choice. All I'm asking you to do is preserve my choice and vote in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
My name is Pamela McCarthy. I live on Leamington Lane. I am urging people to vote no on this. It was interesting when the gentleman before me mentioned the resources going into washing reusable bottles. The resources going into creating these single-use bottles, to create them, to fill water from a tap from another state, and then to truck them here so that we can buy them, as opposed to going to the tap and getting water out of our tap, is pretty astronomical. Not to mention the fact that when I'm old enough to remember that when I went to the beach with my family when I was a kid, we brought one of those igloo containers with water or a beverage in it, as well as with our lunch and everything. We didn't make a stop at the grocery store to get that stuff. We kind of came equipped for all that. And when my guests come to my house, I give them water. And when I was at school, we went to the water bubblers to get water. And if I needed a cup, they gave me a cup. So I'm urging everybody to please vote no.
Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Singer. I live on Cranberry Avenue. And right now, this meeting is going so long, I don't know whether I'm going to pee in a plastic bottle or a glass bottle.
What did you say?
But the last meeting that we had on this issue, we had an outsider who did not live in Mashpee, has nothing to do with the Mashpee beaches, has nothing to do with the town, exposed that plastic bottles are terrible and they hurt the environment. Well, you know, people throw away a plastic bottle, they throw away a glass bottle. A plastic bottle doesn't break, the glass bottle does. People can get hurt with these glass bottles, and she talked about glass bottles on the plastic bottles on the beach. Glass bottles do the same danger, and I just think it's very good to have plastic bottles. Thank you.
Okay.
Alana Doyle, Sunset Strip. When it comes to water bottles, I really wanted to understand the argument being made for their outright ban. Was it about littering? No. If it was, we'd actively be discussing scratch tickets, cigarettes, and Dunkins, all of which are arguably much worse for your health than water. Clearly, it wasn't about the content, water being one of the very few actual necessities necessary to survive. The only logical reason to seek a ban on water bottles is because plastic is bad for the environment. That, I do not disagree. Some also argue there's cost savings. So I went to the local grocery store and realized the largest container of water I could buy that didn't require a separately purchased dispenser was a 2.5-gallon container. It cost $4.19. 2.5 gallons equals the same amount of water in 19 water bottles. The standard package of water bottles contains 24, and the cost range of $2.99 to about $4.29. Yes, you heard me correctly. To get the same amount of water, it is more expensive to buy the larger container. As if we need another way to increase the cost of groceries, which for many has become as costly as a rent or mortgage payment this past year, for my family included. So if we establish that we're not saving any money, I then wanted to understand if we were going to reduce our plastic use in total consumption, if we weren't going to have any cost savings. I purchased the 2.5-gallon container, and obviously it didn't last as long as a package of water would. When it was empty, I decided to weigh the plastic. It was 181 grams. Was this more than the 19 water bottles? I weighed an empty water bottle from my recycling bin, and it was 10 grams. So a 2.5-gallon container is 181 grams. 19 water bottles, 190 grams. That was a 9-gram difference in total plastic weight, the weight of 2 sheets of copy paper. When we talk about reducing plastic waste, this is a highly insignificant change. Now, none of this matters if the plastic we use isn't recycled. If someone is not recycling their water bottles, this ban won't force them to recycle the larger containers they purchase either. This ban is not promoting recycling. In fact, single-use water bottles are the easiest plastic that can be recycled, at a rating of 1. The larger container I purchased, a rating of 2. In conclusion, this ban effectively, 1, increases the cost of water for consumers at our local grocery stores. 2, has less than a 5% saving in plastic weight, and that's assuming everyone recycles. 3, introduces more plastic weight that is less simple to recycle into new material. If you want to make significant change to eliminate plastic waste, this is not the answer. Think of a way to incentivize those who are not currently recycling to become active recyclers. After all, if that doesn't change, the plastic waste will remain the same. Please vote yes to overturn this bottle ban. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take 2 over here and 2 over there who are new. No one else. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, real quick, I live on Shorewood Drive, and my husband and I both teach in Falmouth schools. Our children go to Falmouth schools, and they bring their water bottle to school every day. They fill it up. I don't have to use any extra water to wash it. I just spray it with a little vinegar every day. And for my students who forget their water bottle, I give them a cup. It's really simple, and I think that the industry wants us to keep buying water from other states, but we have great water here right in Mashpee. We filter it, and we love it.
Sure.
Owen Mahoney, 52 Brewster Road. One thing that a lot of people haven't mentioned, no one's actually mentioned it yet, people that work in the trades. I have my own, my own small construction crew that I run, and there's many times when we don't have access to water on site whatsoever. So yes, we bring our own, but then what happens, during the middle of, a heat wave in the summer? We need more. This happened last summer down in Falmouth, and mid-July, 95-degree days, and we burned through whatever water we had. We couldn't get anything. The local convenience store didn't have anything that we could buy. So I was forced to drive all the way back to Mashpee to bring it back to the job site. So it was a waste of time, money, and energy. I mean, not everybody has the ability to refill, a reusable container throughout the day. And that's, yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to sound like a codger here, but when I was a kid, they used to take us every year to the Coca-Cola bottling plant, where they would take recycled bottles, run it through a washing machine, and fill it up with Coke, and send it back out to you. Easy beans. 90% of the plastic does not get recycled. So no matter how good you are, it's not going to happen. Construction, I mean, you buy a gallon. When I was a kid, God, I sound like an old fogey. We'd go to the beach, we'd have a gallon jug, a plastic jug, that we'd fill up with water or Kool-Aid or whatever we were going to drink that day, and some paper cups. No problem. Bubblers at the schools. Everyone's making excuses for using plastic. I could get into what microplastics are doing to the environment, what they're doing to you and your kids, but that's beyond the pale. That's beyond my expertise level, though, also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am,
Hannah
quickly.
Nadell, Timberlane Drive. I can't really add too much to what the last fellow said. I just want to speak from the heart to say that I am so tired of seeing everything in the grocery store now in a plastic clamshell. I know it's a recyclable #1 type plastic. I feel like starting with banning even something small is a start. And I really would like to see a hell of a lot less plastic in all of our shops. I've had to buy one single-use water bottle a year for the past 10 years, and that was just an emergency situation. And I feel like it's so easy to work around not having to have that, as well as sugary drinks. You don't have to drink sugary drinks as an alternative to water. Anyway, that's my take, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gottlieb, quickly.
Very quickly. I have a prop too. Metal
No.
water bottle. There's a case of them right over there. Just as easy to pick up and walk out of the store. With this, weighs nothing. Second thing I want to tell you is everybody or a lot of people who rely and argue against this ban cite there's legislation to change the bottle bill. You know who's not supporting that legislation actively? The bottling industry, the retail industry, the package store industry. None of those associations, not only are they not doing anything to help the bill pass, they're spending major money to prevent it to pass. The only way you're going to get real movement on these matters is for towns to take the issue into their own hands and make the industry pay attention and get a bottle bill deposit. Until then, you're not going to get it.
All right, we're going to call for the vote. No, I'm calling the question.
Call the vote.
All those in favor of Article 27 as moved, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Okay. Put out your cards. All those in favor, raise your cards. You're voting right now in favor of Article 27. You're going to recount? We got it. Hold on. What's your section?
27. But I think someone up after I walked by.
All right, it's the same book number. Okay. It's the same number as the first time she had. Okay, all those opposed to Article 27, raise your cards. Okay.
Which one are we on, 27? I've been here for so long.
Yeah, 27.
27. This keeps up, you're gonna know what happens at 10 o'clock.
Okay, Article 27 passes 221 to 160. Article 28 is a petition article. Okay.
What did it pass by? I didn't get the number, or did you hear it?
I didn't get the second.
Article 28.
Reconsideration operators.
Want people to leave, they're screaming about stay.
Yeah.
So it's close to the last one.
Is that the,
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
all right, anybody want to indefinitely postpone Article 28?
You know, I like those plastic bottles. I don't throw them away.
Postpone.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 28, say aye. Aye. Definitely postponed. Again, just for everybody's sake, there's a thing called reconsideration that's done within 30 minutes, so if you leave, votes can be changed. Article 29 is a petition article. 29. Yes, sir.
Move Article 29 is printed in the warrant.
Okay. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Planning Board, motion to recommend approval passed. 3 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstained. Discussion on Article 29.
I'll speak to it.
Do you want to comment, or you're good?
Jerry?
Mr. Gottlieb?
Speak to this one and several that follow. Board of Selectmen voted 3-2 to support passage of this. I and Mr. Whedon were among the 2 that voted against it. What this does is it allows large-scale, in combination, this article and several others that follow, allow large-scale solar installations on wooded properties that are currently prohibited by zoning in the town of Mashpee. So, sure, I like solar, but I don't like solar so much when you cut down a bunch of trees to create that solar location, when in fact the better location for solar is on rooftops, parking garages, parking areas, canopies, already disturbed areas. So why don't they go there? Because all the incentives drive the development community to look for green spaces that they can convert. It's more lucrative, it's easier, and it will continue until and unless towns say no and begin to force the industry and the legislature to change the incentive system so that we solarize our already disturbed areas, our parking lots, our rooftops, our impervious surfaces, and stop sacrificing trees in the name of climate protection. It's absurd. You're going to hear that the town's going to make a lot of money on this. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. You know why? Because it was not until 2 meetings ago that we were approached by the developer with a proposal for a financial compensation package for the town. There is no deal in place. The flyer you got said the town's guaranteed to get whatever amount of money. We're not guaranteed to do anything because we don't have an agreement. Once the zoning goes through, our leverage position changes radically. It's backwards. So I would urge everybody who has a concern about doing the right thing on solar to say no to this so that we're in a position to have a more intelligent discussion. And you know what? That property might get developed for something else. I don't know. What I do know is that based on the proposed agreement they gave us, at the end of the license period for the solar, the developer has the right to buy the property back from the town and develop it. So it's going to get developed now, or it's going to get developed at the end of the solar period. So this issue of if you don't let it do this, and it's not going to generate traffic, or we're not going to have development, is a bit of a red herring. If you're around here in 20 years, at the end of this period, that property is going to get developed. Otherwise, they wouldn't put that provision in. So I would encourage you to vote no on this and several others that follow.
Finance Committee, I didn't take your recommendation.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 29 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Any discussion further on Article 29? Mr. Mills.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Robert Mills, 21 Emma Oakley Mills Way. I support the article. It's the least restrictive use of the property. It's a 40-acre parcel of land that's owned by a private individual. It could be heavily developed with, it's half commercial, C2 zoning district and R5 zoning district, and nothing can prevent this individual from developing this into commercial lots for commercial use, residential lots. Everybody hates the 40B word as being a hammer over somebody's head, but it's a reality. He can propose 40B. He can propose open space subdivisions. He can propose any number of things that would have a much more severe impact in this area on our community, on the schools, on the fire department, on the police department, than the use of solar. Mr. Moderator, I'd also like to request permission be granted to the petitioner's expert who's here tonight that can be, I think, more informative than I can on the solar energy system.
But just for everyone in here, can you just tell us briefly where this property is?
It's located on Route 151 behind Chapman Funeral Home. It runs down Algonquin Ave and then over to where the Shell station is. It's all behind there. It's 40 acres.
All right.
It's a former gravel pit is what it was.
So there's been a request to let someone who's not a town meeting voter speak or at least answer questions. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed?
No.
Yeah, he's just going to answer questions. I will put a time limit on it. So hold on. All in favor of having an individual be able to answer questions on this, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Okay. So it looks like it's you, Mr. Mills. Yes, sir.
I'm Dennis Belzrini, a member of the planning board. A member of the planning board.
Yep.
At our meeting, they showed us a map of the 40 acres. And on the outskirts of that 40 acres, was part of the 40 acres, there were individual owners. I asked the question, who owns that land? And they couldn't answer us. So one person owns the gravel pit, and there was, I think, 7 other people that own lots that abutted that thing. So I never got an answer. Does he have the right to sell that whole 40 acres, or is it just that little sand pit that he was selling? But the company that's doing the solar said they needed it all because they would have to cut more of the trees down. So I don't know who owns the land, so I wouldn't vote on this because we don't really know who owns those other lots that are designated to be built on, like for houses. Till I find that out as a planning board member, I'd say no to this thing. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I can answer that question.
Okay.
The lots, at the end of the day, are owned by, all of the lots, all of the 40 acres is owned by one person. Practically speaking, from an assessment perspective, well, I'm telling you that, Dennis. Practically speaking, they're in separate names so that the lots don't merge under zoning. But at the end of the day, the LLC that owns all of the lots, the beneficiary is one person.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first of all, I respectfully have to point out to
But,
Ms. Mills that my name is Mary Wagan. I live at 35 Ashumet Road. And I have to point out that this area is not all a gravel pit. There is a significant portion of this land that is forested. Okay, so that was a misleading statement right there. I sit on the planning board. I voted no against town meeting recommending this. I'm not representing the planning board right now. I'm representing myself. This solar bylaw has been before the town for years now. And I'm talking about Article 29 through 34. It's currently being proposed in combination with a proposal by NextGrid to develop the solar farm with monetary payments to the town, as Mr. Gottlieb correctly referred. However, there's no guarantee that NextGrid would be the owner of this property. As a planning board member, I asked for assurances in writing. I suggested the signing of an exclusive option to purchase the property by NextGrid.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
Yes, Mr. Mills.
I fail to see the relevance of anything that she's saying that relates to this article. That's a permitting issue. That's not before this town meeting.
I'm sorry, but it has been, Mr. Moderator, may I continue?
Only if it's germane to this article.
I was told that this bylaw was part of a package deal with NextGrid, so I contend that it is part of this discussion. I have been to multiple meetings where it had, before the Board of Selectmen, before the Planning Board, and community members, when that was, NextGrid was the representative talking about this bylaw. Not the petitioner.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll be very quick. Furthermore, there's no preliminary agreement between the town and NextGrid on the proposed monetary payments. They said that was impossible until after the bylaw was changed. That's nonsense. A town can enter into a two-party agreement. It's called an agreement in principle. We could have done this negotiating first. We should not approve a zoning bylaw before an agreement is made because zoning is permanent. Giving away the zoning for this lot gives away our high ground in the negotiations with NextGrid. NextGrid, I'm not saying that they're not a good company, but I want the best deal for the town. I urge you to vote no at this time so we can get the negotiations going on this. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, could you tell me what was the recommendation of our planning board?
The planning board I read was, on Article 29 was...
Passed 3-1, one abstention.
Correct.
Thank you. One of the reasons that the Finance Committee waited as long as we did to act on this article was because we wanted to know what the planning board thought of it. So your planning board voted to approve this and recommend it to the town. We took their lead and unanimously decided to go with it. We weren't asked to vote on a deal, amount of money, or anything. We were basically asked this: do you want solar in Mashpee? Do you want a solar overlay district where someone could come in and do something that's not going to, not be like what's at the fairgrounds over there with the big thing sticking out of the ground, but in the back of the woods, hidden, has a very low footprint where there would have been trees cut down anyway if you were to build a condo or an apartment complex or a store. We felt, we voted in the affirmative that we wanted this to happen at the recommendation of our town planning board. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, John Falone, Stratford Ridge. I'm also a member of the planning board. This is a sand pit, folks, and if it's not developed for solar, the owner can develop it in ways that no one in this room is going to be happy with. It's been vacant for years. It's going to be hidden. It will have a buffer of trees. We still get to negotiate that with the vendor when the bylaw is changed. But if we don't vote yes tonight, the current owner of that property can do, with current zoning, building that we're not going to be happy with, and we won't be able to stop it.
All right. Yes, sir.
David Rivera, Cayuga Ave. I just want to say that this parcel of land is barely a sand pit. If you look on Google Maps right now on your phone, you can see that the majority of this acreage is actually trees. It's actually woodlands here. And if the owner of this property would like to develop it in another way, it still has to go through the town planning board for it to be developed in any other way as well. So, and if it gets developed in commercially or residentially, then they can put solar panels on the roofs there. So I feel as though this whole point of just putting solar panels is actually a waste of space, not to mention ruining a bunch of woodlands that are there right now. That's my point.
All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, and I need a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 29 as moved, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Defeated. Okay, Article 30.
Mr. Moderator? I'd like to move that we take up Article 35 at this time, before we take up the rest of the articles. The basis for that is that without knowing what happens with Article 35, we won't know whether there'll be any environmental protections at all in this district or in this solar farm. That article talks about protecting Childs River, which runs along the side of it, with a 300-foot buffer and a 100-foot buffer from the wetland that's along Route 151. I don't know how far I can go with the discussion until you let me do this, but you have to understand that whatever gets done there, it's going to be a DRI going to the Cape Cod Commission. And under the regional policy plan, this is called a natural resource area where they require 3 acres of open space for 1 acre of development. So all this baloney about how much acreage they're going to use up, they're not going to get to do it. So if they say that's going to make it infeasible, it's infeasible. And that'll apply to any other development that happens on this property. 3/4 of it has to be open space according to the Cape Cod Commission.
All right, there's been a request to take out of order Article 35, which in this case would need a majority vote. Do I have a second to take it out of order?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor of next discussing or voting on the article being 35, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, Article 35 now is on the floor. And that is a petition article also, I believe. So who's the petitioner?
I move the town to vote to approve Article 35 as printed in the warrant.
Okay, do I have a second?
Said that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Board of Selectmen.
I'm the petitioner of Article 35.
All right. Well, they did your job for you.
Okay, well, I move that the town vote to approve Article 35 as printed in the warrant.
Okay.
I'm Lynn Barbie, 73 Surf Drive.
All right, Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen opposed, passage 3-2.
Okay. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee does not recommend approval of Article 35 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay.
And Mr. Moderator, the planning board voted 2-3 not to recommend.
Okay. That covers all the boards. Mr. Fidel.
Okay, the reason that I'm bringing this up now is that without knowing what happens with this article, you won't know whether or not you get any protection for the Childs River or for that wetland, or any preservation of open space on your property. The articles, as they're written, call for these tiny setbacks that there's really nothing next to the property that they'd be setting back from, like 100 feet from the nearest house. There's no house within 100 feet. And all of them say, unless the planning board decides it could be less. So there's no protection at all for woodlands or wetlands or for the Childs River, which is the western edge of this property, in any of these articles without this added protection. And I think people ought to know before they are asked to vote on the other articles what really will be the rules going forward. And I think, of course, that we need to protect the Childs River. We need to protect that wetland. By the way, it's a 100-foot setback from the wetland. And as I mentioned before, the Cape Cod Commission is going to require a lot more open space than that because it's a DRI, because it's over 2 acres of clear cutting. Town of Falmouth requires 2 acres for every 1 acre of solar farm. You know, saying that these tiny little asks in this article are going to kill the project is a joke, because all they're asking for is to strip the entire property. It's not been mentioned, and Andy sort of maybe touched on it, but you know, you get probably as much value in terms of carbon sequestration, in terms of protecting the climate from the trees that are there now and left there than you do from using solar for, you know, whatever you're going to use your electricity for. And the article that talks about allowing them on top of, you know, parking lots and all that, that's the way to go, because that land's already been stripped. There's no trees there. They're not providing any environmental function. But this is just stripping a woodland. And as was mentioned, you look at a Google map, there's less than a third of the property was ever a sand pit. The rest of it actually was left wooded, because that was where the well was for the trailer park, until the Air Force came in and built them a water system because their well got contaminated with PFAS. So that's why it's all of a sudden available on the market. And it's a windfall for one of the nastiest guys in town. I won't mention his name, but that one owner is not a nice guy. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, any further discussion on Article 35? Seeing none, I need a 2/3 vote on Article 35. All those in favor of Article 35 as moved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
All right, get your cards out. All, you're voting in favor because it's 2/3. So all those in favor, raise your cards, please. Wait a minute. Okay. All right, all those opposed to Article 35, raise your cards, please. Book them, Daniel. Okay, Article 35 does not get the 2/3 vote. It was 154 to 148. Okay, we're going to return to Article 30. Yeah, Article 30. It's a petition article. Mr. Mills.
Moves to indefinitely postpone Article 30.
Do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 30, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, Article 31, Mr. Mills.
Moderator, the petitioner moves to indefinitely postpone Article 31.
Yep.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor of Article 31, indefinitely postponing, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Article 32, Mr. Mills.
Moderator, we move for indefinite postponement of Article 32.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to indefinitely postpone Article 32. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Definitely postponed. Article 33, Mr. Mills. Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I move the town to approve Article 32 as printed in the warrant.
33, right?
Yeah, we're sorry.
33, right? All right, do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Motion been made and seconded. Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen supported this article.
We support it.
Okay. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 33 by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, and the Planning Board recommended approval unanimously 5-0. Any discussion on Article 33?
Mr. Moderator, just real quick for people, this helps encourage people to install solar installations on disturbed areas, on parking lots, on roofs. It doesn't count that as a structure, so it doesn't count against what they can otherwise do on the property. This is a good thing if you want to encourage already disturbed areas to have solar.
Okay, Mr. Fidel. Can you take your mask down? I can't hear you. Thank you.
Now you know who I am.
You've been talking all night, that's why.
I thought it was the mystery man. This is the way to do solar. I mean, you know how they've done it next to Stop and Shop and at the fairgrounds. I mean, that land was useless in terms of the environment. It paved over or it's a parking lot. That's where you put these solar awnings, not chopping down forests, because that's just going in the opposite direction from saving the planet with solar energy. So absolutely, I favor this article.
Okay, any other discussion on Article 33? Seeing none. I need a 2/3 vote on this one. All those in favor of Article 33 say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes. All right, Article 34, petition article. Mr. Mills.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, the petitioner moves to indefinitely postpone Article 34.
Motion been made and seconded to indefinitely postpone. All those in favor of Article 34 indefinitely postponing, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Indefinitely postpone. I take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes?
I'd like to comment on the postponement of these articles briefly.
Go ahead.
I'm pleased that these articles have been postponed. Lynn Barbie, 73 Surf Drive. The process by which this whole thing happened was not the right process. And I hope that if somebody does want to continue to try to do a different solar article, that you come to the planning board first with your idea, with your plans, with all of the details in writing, and then we can negotiate all of the stuff that we need to in order to put a solar bylaw overlay anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Good night.